I'll keep a wee eye if we get anybody else wanting to join us. So here we are.
Much, Kim, for doing this. Thank you
Good
so
morning, everybody. Good morning, Fi, and welcome. My name's Kim MacLeod. I'm from Indie Authors World, and we have had the pleasure of helping Fi get her book out into the world. And here it is. Here we have Coming Home, the awakening through the stillness into the living light. So congratulations, Fi, on publishing your book.
Thank you very much.
So this morning we've been doing quite a lot of virtual book launches really since we had all this lockdown situation in COVID. And as we were saying, we were chatting there before we got started, that in a way it's been a blessing because Fi, you have a very international audience come to join you today with folk all around the world, which would have been a little bit different had we been trying to squeeze everyone into a room in Glasgow. So, so there's definitely a benefit then of having this. I have a few questions that I would like to ask you about the book and your journey, your experiences. If anyone, as we're talking, has a question they would like to ask, there is a chat facility on Zoom. If you, depending whether you're on a tablet or you're on the laptop, wherever your the kind of control bar is, there's usually either along the top or the top or the bottom. There is a little chat facility, and you can type if you want to type a question in there. Then I will keep a wee eye on the chat, and we can ask. At the end, we're also then going to, we will unmute everybody at the end to say congratulations to Fi. And we are going to leave the room open so there's a chance then for you to again have a little informal chat. So once we've finished the actual formal event, we'll stop the recording and we'll leave that open for you. So obviously, as you have friends here, we'll leave that open so that you can have a chat with everybody afterwards, as you would do if it was in the room. So sit back, relax, and enjoy it. That's what I'm going to say. First of all, it's just and really well done. And that colour does look wonderful on you. You definitely suit that.
Thank you.
So I wanted
the face soon.
looking fabulous. There's still people arriving, so if you're those who've arrived, you will be muted as you come in, and we are just going to start asking, chatting, and have a little discussion about Fi's wonderful book. So just to kind of kickstart, what I was going to do was just read you the blurb from the book, just to kind of give you a little bit of a setting and see what is this about. Although I would imagine probably quite a few people have said already they have read it. So, Coming Home, awakening through the stillness into the living light. So, Fi Sutherland's inspirational memoir of her recovery from a near-death experience in Peru in 2009 guides readers in the awakening process through personal development, spirituality, and meditation. Fi emerged from a coma in the enlightened state of unconditional love, joy, and inner peace. And in this blissful state and free from fear, she was present in each moment, and only that moment mattered. The luminous experience strengthened Fi's resolve to follow her heart and help others to consciously achieve the awakened state. A qualified therapeutic counsellor and teacher at the Scotland-based ISIS School of Holistic Health, Fi charts her journey from ignorance to self-awareness and shares techniques to mentor readers to set aside old mindsets, gain awareness, and move into a heart-centred approach to living. Coming Home rouses the inner calling to live life in an authentic, meaningful, and inclusive way, and helps each reader reveal their hidden gifts and find joy. Absolutely wonderful. Is that not what we all need? Hopefully we're going to experience some joy this morning too, just as we get to talk to you about this wonderful book. You were going to kind of give us a little bit of a reading, Fi, I think, as well, from a little section. So I think it's nice, I think, just maybe for you to kind of start that little bit off, and then we'll move into questions. So
yeah, thank you so much, Kim. That was really lovely. Thank you, and thank you everyone for joining and for your support and your love. I'm just so grateful, really, really grateful, and I'm so grateful to have arrived at this moment with the book out in publication. My goodness, what a journey it's been for me. So I wanted to read you this bit about the near-death experience. In 2009, I fulfilled a dream to visit Machu Picchu. I was going to South America for the first time, and I was elated. I traveled to Peru with a group on spiritual pilgrimage, but I returned home alone. When most of the group left Peru, I was in a coma in intensive care in a hospital in Cusco, caused by altitude sickness. My last conscious memory is at the end of our day in Machu Picchu, boarding the bus with some friends to return to our hotel. I do not even recall finding a seat on the bus. My next memory is waking up in the hospital. No memories have ever returned of my missing time, the 3 days before the coma, and the 4 days I remained in the coma. I know many people have written books about their near-death experiences, but I can't tell you anything about mine. What I can tell you is what happened afterward. When I woke up from the coma 4 days later, I did not know I had been with a group. I did not recall Machu Picchu. That memory came back later. On waking up, I had no memories. Coming out of the coma was the most amazing experience I have ever had. I felt as if I had been reborn. It was a birthing, except this time I was born into an adult's body with the innocent perspective of a newborn. When I awoke, I realized that I was in a hospital. I knew I was in Peru, although I had no idea where. I knew my name. I knew I was from Scotland, but that was all. I could not answer any more of the doctor's questions. I had no idea how old I was, what day, month, or even year it was. I had no conception of what had happened to me, nor did I know if anyone knew where I was. The doctor just nodded and smiled, and so did I. I had a wisp of disappointment when I looked at my hands and I noticed that a ring I had worn for years was not there. But as quickly as that feeling arose, it was gone. It did not matter. Nothing mattered. I had no fear, no worries, no concerns, no thoughts. Let me say that again. I had no fear, no worries, no concerns, no thoughts. Wow. In all my years of meditation, I had not achieved that. A mind empty and spacious, the meditator's dream. My mind was at peace, and so was I. I cannot recall ever before feeling so at ease and untroubled. I looked around and everything I saw was beautiful. I felt content, completely relaxed, and so very happy. Thich Nhat Hanh said, enlightenment, peace, and joy will not be granted by someone else. The well is within us. I had found the well. Thank you.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to hear you reading your words. So I definitely think an audiobook then must be next on the agenda.
That's taken me hours of practice.
It was lovely, yeah, so lovely to hear you really speak about that, and that I mean, that experience, and to have that, as you repeated, the no thoughts, you know, nothing going on.
Nothing.
Have you ever managed to achieve that since?
No. No. I mean, I get close to it in meditation, but
Yeah.
to live in that state, no. And I lived in that state for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. And I didn't actually know how to think. I had to train myself how to think. And I had to tell myself to think because otherwise the mind just didn't switch on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I started to speak, I couldn't speak in sentences. It was totally like being a child again. And I couldn't remember the words of things, even like table. I would just point to it, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was like my communication with everyone was like playing a game of charades as I just pointed to things, and you know.
Yeah.
So it was quite interesting. I
Was
mean,
there,
everyone. Sorry.
yeah, so I was going to say, was there any fear at all? Did it start to come in when, because you couldn't communicate in the same way, or did you stay in this a blissful state, and almost because that this was just how it was? It
That
seemed
was
like
just how it
acceptance.
was. There was
Yeah.
no fear. There
Yeah.
was absolutely no fear at all. I could see the concern in other people's faces, like my parents were really worried.
Mm.
But I was like, I just had no comprehension of that, because all I had was a blissful state. So it was like, I just radiated love. I honestly radiated love. And the amount of response I got from people, strangers who I didn't even know, was amazing. And it is this amazing state that's in us that I got to experience. And I know that that's why I think it just galvanized my whole being into, yes, this is what I want to do, you know, because what I had to do was come out of that state and come back into my body fully.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I had someone on earth in the form of Fatula and all our guides to help me do that, because I was starting, after a few weeks, I was starting to fragment. I could feel it. I wasn't fully grounded in my body because my body couldn't hold that luminosity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that I started to really mentally and emotionally and even physically almost like break down a little bit. And that was concerning, you know.
Yeah.
I started to get concerned then, but then Fatula stepped in.
Yeah.
And then things started to evolve from there. So
Yeah.
it was divine timing. It was divine timing. But I needed Fatula here to help me in that process.
Yeah. And Fatula had sat beside you on the bus then in Peru,
We
but
actually met
you
in
didn't.
Peru.
You met in Peru, but you both were in Glasgow, but hadn't known each other before you met on
No,
the.
it
You met
just
in
so
Peru.
happened we were both in this pilgrimage to Peru. And the very first morning, very first trip out to the sacred site, Fatula and I sat together on the bus and we just hit it off immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then we never spoke again until Machu Picchu. We spent the day in Machu Picchu together. But then we discovered we both lived in Glasgow, which was really strange as well. You know? Yeah. And then everything, look how everything evolved from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
I suppose when one of the things that for me was sort of spirit works in mysterious ways. Was there perhaps some agreement before this that the two of you needed to meet at that particular time? Because for me, you look at events that have happened during life and you think, if you hadn't met that person, then life would have been so very different.
Absolutely, I wouldn't be here.
Yep. So thank you, Fatula, and we're going to talk a little bit more about stuff about the journey with Fatula. I think we had a question from Rona in Australia, and I think it's actually quite appropriate to bring it in now, so where it's at, because she asked, sort of, what made you then want to write a book and share this experience with others?
It's really interesting, and Julie in New Zealand will back me up with this. There was something in me about writing a book. Even before I knew I was going to write this book, there was something in me that said, write a book. And then in 2008, I was in a retreat, just a solitary retreat for a couple of weeks in Scotland. And out of nowhere it came, write a book, get up and write a book. And I was lying in my bed and I just got up and I wrote 3 chapters. And it was like, that kind of spawned something, because it was like, that came from another place. I could say now it came from my heart. And it was all about my process. And then I thought, that's the book I'm meant to write. So that's where it all sort of came about. And then it was just a continuous journey of that book evolving And it's taken 12 years to get to this space, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a huge labor.
Yeah, but as you've also you speak about in the book, that had you written stuff early on, it wouldn't have been the full story. It wouldn't have been all the experiences that you have been able to share with people. So perhaps that was the reason why you had to wait that time, because there was more to uncover that was going to help people.
Do you know, I think it's so funny because, and people who work with personal development will really relate to this. My first book was called Being You. And let me tell you how you can become you. So it was total projection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like the pendulum swung. And my next book was called Being Me. And it was like, it's all about me. And then it was like, it came into balance and it became coming home. And it's all about us.
Yeah.
So this is absolutely the most beautiful journey. Yeah. And I think I'm so glad that things came in and those other books never got published. I'm so glad and so grateful of that process, because I love this book now. And it's taken me into that space of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what's so important. And that's what we need, especially at this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely what you would agree wholeheartedly with your book being out at the right time. You know, this, because the awakening journey,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose, that you're trying. So in this book, you have shared some of your own story, but a lot of this is to actually encourage other people really to look and consider how they can start their own experiences, and just to begin to maybe look at how they awaken to their kind of spiritual side and their connection. And we definitely need that more than ever, now at this time. I wanted to ask, so right at the very start, you share how I suppose everybody has a bit of a pivotal moment, I think, of something that starts to help them awaken to to something happening else in the world. And you talked about a particular movie that you had gone to see that had just shifted your perception, and that you went back to watch that movie a few times. And we don't have to go into the particular movie that it was, because it could be, like I say, it could be different for other people. But and then other things, once you became aware and started to look, then other things fell into place. So you would notice a flyer to go for a meditation class, and then there was people would appear. Do you think that we all have these awakening moments in our lives that are going on? And if we miss them, I suppose that's the thing, because always the fear is, oh, if we've missed it, are there other opportunities? Do things then kind of come back to us? That, if you missed an opportunity or something that was there, do you think that still comes back to us again?
I think in a sense I was lucky, because my moment was so pivotal. It just like, it took me from one way of looking at the world to a completely different, that I had no idea. I was totally immersed in the conditioning. I was a volleyball player. This was the only thing that was really important to me. I didn't drink herbal tea. I hadn't meditated. I didn't do anything of that. And I had no concept of that spiritual world at all. I actually thought people were odd who talked about that,
Yep.
So, and then it was like, boom, 2 hours after seeing a film, I come out and something in my world has changed completely. And I don't know what it is. And I think there was a beauty in me that I didn't panic for some reason. I just kind of accepted it. And I think that was because my heart opened up enough that it calmed my mind. And then I just kept going to the movie, because it was like, that was my reference point.
Yeah.
Tell me again what the message is. Tell me again what the message is. I don't get it. Tell me again. And I think sometimes that's what we need. We need to keep hearing these messages again and again, because it's like our conditioning can be so thick, our veils can be so thick, that we don't get it. We're in ignorance, right? We don't get it. We don't have enough awareness, or we're in fear too. And fear can cloud us, and it can stop us engaging.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, yeah, life does come in. I'm sure life comes into so many of us to try and give us a little nudge to say, hey, there might be another way of looking at that.
Yeah.
And do we look at, I think we miss so many messages. I'm sure I've missed so many messages in my life. I'm just so grateful when the messages came that I saw, that I took the opportunity, you know.
Yeah.
And I kept taking the opportunity. And once you're on that flow, and once you're in that heart connection, there's a communication at another level between you and life. And that communication keeps opening the doors. And then you just got to keep your mind quiet enough so that you walk through the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a journey for all of us. And, you know, and I had a few years where I did this in my spiritual path. I got a bit lost in Buddhism for a few years, you know, and I think definitely in 2007, when I made that commitment to follow my heart, that's where I lined up again. And then since then, everything I would say has been much more in flow, much more in a line.
Yeah. But I suppose, like us all, life happens, isn't it? That's the thing, that life happens, and we can be, you know, on a spiritual quest, or just be in that part where we've got the people around us that can support us, those who will challenge our thinking and help lead us to new experiences. But sometimes, like I say, life just happens, other things, and we get taken off of that path. And I think that's the beauty, that you've shared that as well in the book, so people realise that, you know, we don't have, it's not a straight, you know, I thought nobody's life really is a straight, you know, yes, I'm going there, and that's exactly where you're going to end up going. And I think that's been a beauty of how you've shared your journey, Fi, that it, you know, it allows us all still to be human in this experience, because that's ultimately what we're here to, you know, isn't it, what we're here to experience, is this human school. So we have to live through those challenges. And
I wanted to make that so clear in the book, because there can be a misconception that once you're on a spiritual path, everything is rosy. And actually, no, it doesn't make life easier. And it's not meant to make life easier, actually. Our soul is here to learn. And we can learn through really good moments, but a lot of us choose to learn through difficulties and challenges too. And some of the challenges are necessary, because it's like we have to step up and reclaim our power, because so many of us have given our power away, especially women, you know, but a lot of men too. And conditioning robs so many people of their power. You know, because our whole focus has gone out to the world instead of, and left our inner connection. So it is about reclaiming that authentic power, reclaiming that authentic self. And that sometimes takes challenges in the outer world. And so we have these people who come into our life, or situations who come into our life that we may not like, but actually, you know, in hindsight, they're such a gift.
And so it's that time when you're in it, it's very hard to see it as a gift. Because most of us go, you know, and you know, I'm a great fan of Oprah. Probably a few of you heard it here as well, and I hear her say often, you know, that you know, please don't teach me any lessons today, you know, that kind of thing. I've had enough. And we probably have all had experiences of that over time, when there are a lot of challenges that may hit at one particular point in time, and sometimes that is the point where people then really then open up, if they dig deep and they open up and say, okay, what is this? How can I, you know, how can this kind of spirituality help me? How can another path help me? And if someone's at that stage, Fi, I'm just wondering, where do they start? I mean, what advice would you give to someone, just to kind of, even just to say, like, if you're struggling just now and you're sitting here thinking, oh, you know, there must be more to life, but I'm not quite sure yet how to start that journey, where would they start for themselves?
I think it's awareness has got to be the very first thing. Without awareness, we remain in ignorance. So it's about becoming self-aware. And I would start with awareness, awareness of yourself, awareness of myself. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I doing? Start with these basics and then keep going with the basics, because awareness will teach you so much about yourself without changing anything in your life. Because that's the other thing. People panic and think, oh my God, I've got to change this, I've got to change that. No. Mm-hmm. The biggest change that will ever goes on within you. It doesn't have to change your external, especially in the beginning, because that can be a big fear. Mm-hmm. So I would say just take it slowly with awareness. Yeah. Develop your own awareness of you. And also connect inside, because for me, the path is two-pronged. It's about the awareness and the personal development, but it's also about the inner connection, because inside of us lies the light of our divine self. And this is such a huge light that we can tap into. It's a huge resource that will support us when we do the personal work. And this is so important. And I think a lot of people miss that. They miss that resource, that inner resource. And I think it's so necessary for us to manifest our own light, because it's like it allows us those moments where we can relax and rest inside. Because the conditioned path can be relentless, and the personal development path, as you said, can be relentless. And where's the peace? Mm-hmm. And we all need those moments of calmness and peace. And so it's developing this other side, this link to the conditioned self that can go away, and the link to the authentic self that can reconnect, because in there is the peace.
And I think you've shared that really clearly in your book, Fi. It was even for me, as I was kind of reading through it, you know, that your spiritual inner journey, mm-hmm. and this personal development, almost outer journey to connect, to look at this, are two very separate things, but they have to, you know, to come together for you as a whole. And realizing that, you know, to people who talk about being a spiritual quest, they are, you know, not necessarily then dealing with their own personal development and looking at what else they also have to acknowledge and you know, accept in their physical, if you like, more manifesting of their life, and those two things kind of being needing to be in balance, but they are a different. It's a different approach, really. That's what I was taking from, you know, from a lot of what you were kind of trying to explain, I think, to us here. So
yeah, I mean, for me, when I first started, they were separate paths.
Yeah.
It was very much my personal development. I did outside, I did it in the world, you know, with the challenges, the people that were coming. And then it was like my spiritual, my meditation practice, it was like, oh, respite, calm. But then I started to see actually what happened in meditation was that memories from the past would come up, things would come up, or insights into how I could deal with this person in my everyday life. And I started to see that the two married together. Mm-hmm. And if I think about it, I think about it in terms of the eternity symbol. It's like we have this personal development and then we have this spiritual development. And both of them, when we marry them up together, both of them become this symbiotic relationship that supports each other. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And see, when I started to see that, everything started to fall into place in a different way.
Yeah.
Because I could see that actually what I was doing in both aspects was really supporting the authentic self.
Yeah. And that's a journey. That's a learning journey for us all. You know, I mean, I know from my own personal experience, probably still, you know, on that, you know, I got into sort of personal development field early on, and it was that learning. Suddenly it was like, oh, I want to learn something. And you talked about books falling at your feet. That used to happen to me quite a lot. It was like, this is what you have to read now. And you were on that quest of just seeking and seeking and seeking and trying to find all these things and all the courses you would go to and people you would connect with. And it was just learning and learning and learning until almost it's like you're then at overwhelm with it all, and having to then sort of take, like you say, that kind of setback and relax and go within and then absorb, for me, that learning in a way that then connected to who, like you say, that authentic self, where that authentic self really is. And it's probably a journey that, I've spoken to lots of people, who've been in this, because we're still all seekers, I suppose, in a way. And they will experience those, the respite, spiritual side, and this seeking to find the new knowledge at different times. And is there a way that we can can we fast track that, or do you think it is about we just have to go through this path for ourselves? What would you say? Is there another
I think
route
we
for
all
us?
walk our own journey, and we walk at the pace that suits ourselves, and that has to happen. Actually, that's really important, because it's like this path is really precious. It's very difficult to walk the personal and spiritual path on this earth that doesn't facilitate it. It facilitates the conditioning still.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to recognize that we're walking the road less traveled, is what they call it.
Yeah.
And so it's like we have to really honor that aspect of ourself that's conditioned, and really not frighten it. But at the same time, we have to, be conscious of what we're feeding in our life.
Yeah.
Am I feeding the conditioned fears, or am I feeding the beauty that I am inside? And these are conscious choices that we can make the more that we awaken to our own behavior and our own thoughts and feelings. This is the whole journey of awareness. We walk through these on this path of awareness to make choices, better choices, for ones that really align with what it is that we each want within our soul. And we're each on a different soul's journey. Mm-hmm. What I wanted to do with the book is just give a kind of wide perspective too, and just tips and techniques that I've learned along the way. But how each person uses those tips and uses those techniques is up to themselves. And the pace as well is up to the person, because the conditioned world is all about fast track. It's all about speeding up the process. It's all about finding the 9-step plan or the 2-step plan that will take us from A to B. Mm-hmm. And actually, the spiritual journey isn't like that at all. We have to awaken really well. We have to walk into our heart. And our heart has been closed through the conditioning for protection. So when we open the doors of the heart again, we have to do that in a way that's really respectful of ourselves. Yeah. So I in a sense, I can't say there's an answer to that question.
I think you have absolutely answered that question. I think that's the, that is the bit that we're all on our own journey. Yeah. You described for you that rituals were really important, and as you were learning, you got involved in, different aspects of sort of healing modalities and different rituals that you would undertake. What is it about ritual that helps, I suppose, your own spiritual kind of development?
I think that's a really good question. I think the very first, I'll call it ceremony or ritual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The very first ceremony that I got involved with was in Buddhism. It was the puja. It was every Sunday morning we would have a puja ceremony, which basically was a chanting ceremony where we invoked the deities, and we would all sit in meditation, chanting the different chants for all the deities. And then we would do this other ritual around that. And there was something in my body that really responded to it. And I loved that because my mind didn't get it, but I knew my body got it. And I knew at the end of the ceremony, I was different because my mind had calmed, because my mind didn't get it at all. My mind had just given up and sort of calmed down. But my body was invigorated, and something within me was like, wow, that's really great, you know? So it was like, that was the starting point. And then I discovered sweat lodges in the Native American tradition. And my first sweat lodge, after 5 minutes, my mind was freaking, I have to say. But luckily, somebody else in the group said, I'm freaking, I can't cope. And I was like, oh, thank God somebody else is like this. Yeah. And that actually calmed me right down. Mm-hmm. And so I came out of that first sweat lodge and somebody said to me, my God, what happened to you? You look like you're 16. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, this is good.
Well, everybody was signing up now looking for sweat lodges.
Well, I went to sweat lodges for years and years because it was something so powerful that was happening. It was transformation at a different level that bypassed my mind, and I loved it. And then I went to the fire dances and those ceremonies of Imaho. And then I got it by that stage because I knew that Imaho was totally awakened. He was in his heart. And I thought, that's what I want to be. I want to be in my heart. And so I would just, he said, watch the fire dancer. He never said watch him. He said, watch the fire dancer. And so I did. I just watched. And it was a bit like going back to that movie on my first awakening. It was the same scenario. I'm not really understanding this, but I'm just going to keep watching it because I know something within me is responding to this and I know it's good. And so I just kept going back to Imaho. I went to Imaho ceremonies for 10 years, you know, and I traveled to Europe as well because he does, or he did at that stage do ceremonies throughout Europe. And I needed to keep going back because I needed to get this message that was speaking to my heart and my body. And what it was actually doing was it was consolidating my heart and my connection to my heart at a very unconscious level, which was beautiful. Mm. And then I realized I needed to step away. And then the guidance was to step away and walk your own path, you know, and I think it was trusting, always trusting the inner guidance more and more.
That at that point, yeah, if you that at that point you had connected enough internally and understood enough in your own body, could feel it, could experience it, that it was then time to take that step and go out with that, the kind of restrictions perhaps that are there within these practices, and that, you know, that someone else is saying that's their path and it's been part of you, but that time, was it then maybe it's now you're now a bit freer because you have learned and absorbed that, so you can now take that next, was it the next stage, would you say?
Yeah, I don't think of it as restrictions, and that never occurred to me. It was just a next step in my own development, and it was all about trust. Yeah, this is the huge journey that we also face because the conditioning robs us of trust, and so re-establishing this trust again, and it's trust in our own self, and trust in our own inner intuition and our heart. What's our heart saying? What's our body saying in response to these things that are happening to us? And can I trust that? And can I learn to trust that? And maybe it's baby steps at first, but sometimes it's like the path separates. And it's like, you got to make a choice. And so it's like, so I've had these what I would call crossroads that everyone comes across in this path. And you have to make a choice at the crossroads. And so that whole thing with the Imaho, and it was now time for me to make a choice. I needed to step on to my own path, you know, with that, which actually was the path of Isis with Fetula. That's what was like calling now. So I need to put my focus in that. And it was just, everything was just steering me.
Yeah.
You know?
And you were, you know, as we were chatting before we started about the, your friend who said, that if you hadn't gone and been a PE teacher, you wouldn't have met them. It's almost like there's like that notion that there is no wrong path, because all these experiences help us to understand ourselves, or to grow and develop. And so that was, that was the route for you then, and then that really opened you up to go deeper then with the work that Fitula and you have been able to do together then.
Absolutely, and no regrets in my life. I've had really difficulties. I'm not good in relationships, and I've had really painful relationships, but actually they taught me so much. I can look back now and see the learning, and with gratitude, I'm grateful to all the people who have helped me, because it's sometimes the lessons are tough. Mm-hmm. And we go through them, and when we come out, we're different people. And that's part of our soul's journey too, and that's part of our soul's choice. So it's about honoring and making peace with all these aspects from our past, and all these people in the past is so important too. Because it's like they're part of our journey, they're part of our soul's choice. So it's like to take them away and stick them in a box is actually, well, that's part of you, you've put in that box. Mm-hmm. So it's like, no. So it's this whole aspect of uncovering, accepting all, because we walk this path to uncover our shadow. Mm-hmm. We walk this path into total self-acceptance, into total forgiveness. Do you want to know who you are? Do you really want to know who you are? Mm-hmm. This is the question. And only we can answer that for ourselves. Yeah.
We're going deep this morning, people. It's just, yeah.
Adrian will tell you this. I've always been like this. I never realized, even at 18, I was like this.
And that's, so it's just accepting and understanding all these parts of the experience that we've had, and I think that's a great way that you've been able to share parts of your journey through life in the book, alongside helping maybe others as they are reading it to maybe put themselves into that situation and think, all right, yeah, okay, this is where I am now, and here's some suggestions as to how I can take my life forward. Now I can look at some of these aspects that you've put together.
I also want to just acknowledge the work of my editor, Lisa Thaler. Amazing, because I gave her this whole manuscript. Mm-hmm. And somehow she found a way around it to make it much more sensible.
The wonders of editors,
friendly, and have structure in it as well. So yes, because it's like the gems were in there, but sometimes you need somebody else to bring them out. Yep. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for that.
And so much so in the same way as Lisa has with your book, that yourself, Fitula, those people that we come in contact with who help us pull those little nuggets and gems from ourselves in the same way to help us learn and move forward. I wanted to pick up. I'm going to come back to another question that Rona had sent me this morning from Australia. She wanted to know, have you had any subsequent out-of-body visionary experiences since the incident in Peru?
Actually, no. My path is very, very grounded. I would say I say I'm not psychic. I am amazed at Fitula and her psychic ability. I don't see things, but I feel things. My body is my compass, and so I'm very connected to my body. But also, if I really want to awaken in a good way and stay sane, I know I need to awaken through the body and through the heart. Therefore, I have to be in the body. And I know that my soul's journey this time is all about awakening through the body. And I'm so grateful of this body connection, because it's like my body, honestly, it's such an amazing compass now. If anybody's vibration comes in or anything happens that my body doesn't like, it starts rattling. And then I know, pay attention, pay attention. So it's like, no, I haven't had, and I don't want, I'm not interested in out of the body experiences. I'm actually interested in transforming myself. This is the journey I'm on. So this is where my focus goes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I know people have all these different experiences,
Yeah.
but it's not my journey.
Yeah.
And I can't comment on that. But no, I'm very focused. On awakening through the body. So that means I've got to be in the body, which means transforming almost like every cell of my body has to be transformed in this process.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
very aware in meditation that that's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm transforming that chemistry in my body by touching and manifesting my own inner light.
Yeah.
And that's what's so important about manifesting your own inner light too, is the transformation in the chemistry of the body that happens.
Yeah.
Very
And
important.
I think what's fascinating now is that through the world of neuroscience and the technology, they're actually able to start to see some of these things physically happening. You know, whereas, as you said, maybe years ago we would all go, oh, it's a bit woo-woo, that's a bit peculiar, that's really strange. Oh well, these are the weird people over there that talk about all of this. And now the world of science, in a way, is actually being able to kind of catch up and show some of these transitions. I mean, the transitions in the body through being able to, to resonate at different frequencies, to absorb things into our own DNA structure, and that's that is quite. I think it's quite fascinating where we might come for those who need something physical to still, they're looking for some physical proof of shifts in spirituality, and they aren't able just to accept this is transformational. People are looking for those spiritual and scientific kind of connections too.
I think both are really important because we have to take our mind on this journey too. You know, we don't leave our minds behind. It's just that what we're doing within the conditioned aspect of the mind is transforming that. So it's like we're transforming the aspects of the conditioning that create obstacles and hindrances within us.
Yeah.
But we need our mind. It's like it's the enlightened mind that's within, and the enlightened mind gets all the signs.
Yeah.
Totally. And so it's fascinating now that these aspects are marrying, isn't it? It's everything's comes back into oneness. Because science is not separate actually from spirituality. If you think about it, it's all sacred geometry and everything. So it's like it's a marrying of all these different aspects, like it's a marrying of all the different aspects in ourself back into the place of oneness.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'd like to pick up a little bit now about your journey with Fitula. As a very, special relationship. Who is she? From that very start of that sitting together on the bus in Peru, and like you said, you then realised that your next transformational stage was then with Isis and the work that Fitula has done. But you describe in your book how she helped you at this very start when you said that you were a bit fragmented, even to kind of help bring you back together, retrieve parts of your soul that were in different aspects or planes, or however else we would maybe describe that. How important has Fitula really been to you in this journey through life?
Immeasurable. I cannot. I am blessed every day. I can't comprehend it actually, Kim. There's no words. I can only assume it's a soul agreement because it's too powerful, it's too meaningful, and it's full of unconditional love. And it's an amazing collaboration that I'm blessed. It's totally important. It's totally important to my life and has been important to my sanity of coming back into my body. And she has been such an amazing teacher to me as well, because it's like with every relationship, you bump against people. And I don't mind bumping against people if they communicate with me. What I can't cope with is when you bump against somebody and then they don't talk about it. And, you know, I've been in relationships where that happens. And for me, that's, my whole soul just loves communication. So with Petula, when we bump against each other, we communicate about it, and it's resolved so easily, so quickly. We don't carry things, we resolve them, we laugh about them, and then we just get on and we both grow. And we've grown together so much as well, because I know I've helped her, and I know she's helped me. So it's been an amazing journey.
And it's also been a journey for the two of you to work together and to then help so many other people then sort of come to their learning. So that from her helping you, the two of you come together, and you then the both of you working together to really, you know, spread the, you know, this enlightened state, I suppose, and the learning joy, you know, together. That must be, you know, if you think about that circle is just amazing.
It's beautiful, and both of us adore this work. This work speaks to our heart. That's why it's like teaching this work is just, I know it's what my soul wants to do. I know it's why I'm here, because this is what makes my heart sing. And it's a joy to work with Petula, because we both just really respond to this work, and the work that comes through for Petula, because she is an amazing channel, the work that comes through is phenomenal. I am in awe of the work, and that's why I'm doubly blessed, you know, to work with her and to share in the work that we are bringing through and delivering, and then I see it when other people do this work too, and come along to our teachings, and then do their own practices, you know, through the work that Petula has brought through, and I see the changes in them, and I think, amazing, fantastic, because it's like, you know, we need to support each other in this process. We're here to awaken on our own, and only we can walk our own path, and only we can awaken, and that's a joy for each soul to experience the awakening, right? It's an amazing gift, an amazing joy, but also there's so much joy to be had in supporting each other to walk our individual paths, and then to see the gifts that other souls carry and that other souls start offering. That's incredible. You know, we have people who are amazing artists, you know, work with crystals, discovering that they're poets, and it's like, wow, all these gifts are coming out of these, you know, beautiful souls, and Petula and I are part of that. You know, and how could you not be blessed by that work?
The ripples, I think that's for me, you know, that the ripple of, you know, you drop a small pebble in a pond, and the ripples of that, you know, just go out around, you know, across the whole of that pond and beyond. And that's the thing I think that you you know, that you shared from your book, the work that you and Fatula are doing, you know, working with all these you know, other people who then immerse their gifts and go out and spread something, and we just pass on and connect with other people, heart to heart, through gratitude, through joy, through, you know, the kind of spiritual experiences, and that together, hopefully we actually we lighten the planet.
Yeah, but we also lighten ourselves.
Yes,
and we lighten our life, and that's really important. You know, because that's the reward for doing the hard work.
Yeah, we all still need rewards, doesn't it? I mean, that's the thing.
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
Yeah. We can have all the spiritual experiences and stuff, but we have to know that there is still joy and some reward in here for ourselves as to how we experience that.
Yeah, and it's fun. You know, we come together in our groups with Fatula and I, and you know, we have fun too. We have laughter. It's joy. It's not all serious. You know, when we do the work, we do the work. We're focused, and then we can laugh and enjoy it. And it's beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm conscious that that's us, you know, just hitting 11 o'clock. If anybody has got questions and stuff, if you want to just, you know, by all means, you know, put them up into the chat. I have one last area that I would like just to explore, and it's at the very end of your book,
Oh, yeah.
and we talked. I mean, we were looking at, you know, sadly your mum passed away, you know, this year, and we were talking about originally doing the book launch on her birthday, and you know, and honouring her in that way. But you've shared in here, I think that for me was a very important part, and it's something that totally resonates with me, is that your experiences, your learning, the journey that you've been through helped you to help your mum to pass on into that being of light in this other realm, and helped you to understand and experience, although you still have the physical loss of someone that you've loved, but to experience that in a different way. And I just wondered, if, you know, if there's anything that you wanted to, you know, is that something that we could share a little bit about how, without, you know, just is.
No, my journey with my mum is during the book, you know, I share different
Yeah.
aspects of that. I was really blessed to have that experience with mum. You know, after dad passed, I lived with my mum for, you know, 2 or 3 nights a week, and effectively became her carer, you
Yeah.
know. And then when she went into the care home, you know, I was still there 2 days a week, well, 3 days a week, supporting her. And when she first went into the care home, it was really difficult for her. It was so difficult because the transition was so quick for her to go from her home to being independent and to having her whole life, to go into a care home where she lost everything, everything. And she was going downhill really fast.
Yeah.
And both my brother and I and my sister-in-law thought, oh my goodness, she's not going to last. And then something happened in the care home, and it turned my mum around. She decided in the care home to live because she could see that what she was doing was shutting herself down, and that she was going to die. And she chose to live. She chose to stop doing what she was doing and to re-engage. And that changed everything for her. And I supported her in that. I supported her when her choice was to not be here. And I supported her when her choice was, I'm going to live. And it was an amazing journey just to be there and hold the space and just respect the choice of my mum. Whatever choice she was making, I was there for her. And it taught me a lot about holding space for another person and being respectful of another person's choices. And also then this journey where she said, no, I'm going to live, it lifted us both up. I'm sure both of our vibrations changed.
Yeah.
And she became literally lighter and lighter in those last 2 years of her life. And honestly, she was just like luminous when she passed.
Yeah.
Luminous. And I got to be with her right at the end. I was lucky that the care home let me in, and, you know, I was all masked up and everything. And I spent, you know, a lot of time with her in those last 3 days. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
And in the passing, within the path of Isis, there's rituals and ceremonies we do to help a soul pass. And I knew I had to go in and do that ritual for her. And I did. And when I was doing the chanting and doing the ritual as she was passing, as all of her soul was passing, because she was already dead, honestly, I just went into this euphoric state. It was utterly incredible. You know, I was actually thinking, oh my goodness, I'm getting a bit loud. The nurses are going to come in and see what I'm doing because it was so joyful. And my chanting was so joyful. And I was actually standing up and dancing. And I was elated. So it was like the passing was a gift to both of us. When that door opened, when our spirit went out finally into the spirit realms, the download of energy that came back in gratitude to me was unbelievable, unbelievable. And because I'd done all the work, because I'm grounded in my body, I could hold it.
Yeah.
you know, as much as I could.
Yeah.
And you know, for the next 3 or 4 days, I was euphoric because it was just a blessing. I had no grief because I knew we totally loved each other. I knew that, okay, there was a physical loss, which I felt in the weeks after. I could feel that. But I knew my mum was in a great place. And Futula spoke to her after she passed. And my mum was like, I'm alive. I'm alive. You know, tell your brother I'm alive. You know, and so she was good. She was great. And it was a blessing for both of us.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like when you do this work, you can share it. And then you can see, my goodness, if somebody else actually wants to share in that or wants to be supported by that, that they can actually transform too.
Yeah.
So I watched my mum transform from someone who like told me I spoke mumbo jumbo to someone who just embraced what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is just beautiful. And that's I think you've shared so much of that. And thank you for sharing your experiences today. Thank you for sharing in the book. And I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you this morning, Fi. It's just been a beautiful book launch event. You know, much more. Yeah, we've shared lots of information for people today. You know, congratulations once again on this book.
May I read just two?
Yes,
more
of course you can. Yeah, of course you can.
I just love to read this. It's the last 2 paragraphs from the book, actually.
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to read this. The more you harness your spiritual nature and live in accord with your authentic self, the more you will embody your enlightened essence. You will be lifted out of the egoic mindsets and transcend limiting beliefs. This higher awareness is now my reality, generated through the near-death experience in Peru and the years of focused spiritual work and personal development. I know with every cell of my being that the higher states of consciousness are accessible and incredibly beautiful. I know too, this can be your reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to invite everybody to unmute themselves. You know, we're people saying thank you so much, beautiful readings. So if you want, please go ahead, unmute, and I'm going to change the view and put it back into gallery view. So we're going to suddenly see everyone again in small boxes. So there we are. And we've got people asking how they can get a copy of the book. I mean, that's a main thing. I know that you've got some through your own. People can get it from yourself direct if they want signed copies. Then, Fi, yes.
Yeah, yep. I can do that. I can sign and send a copy if people want that. And also, it's available from most online bookstores. You know, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like Amazon, but you can get it through Book Depository. Yep. And other online bookstores. Yeah.
So if everyone actually would like to unmute themselves just for a little minute, because what I'd love to do now is just do a big congratulations to you know, so if you all want to if you can unmute yourselves and it's probably going to be a huge big loud noise at the moment, but that's all right. I think everybody's there. And what I'd like to do, so after you can I say 1, 2, 3, everybody give us a big 1, 2, 3 and congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate your support and your love. Thank you. So I'm just